Once upon a time, a green, luscious land became barren. The scorching sun and the winds dried the land, and it cracked, revealing deep gaps and dry roots. The villagers ran to the wells, and at first it worked. The vegetables still grew, and there was still fruit to gather. But over time, they too have perished, just as the wells have dried up. And so the villagers went to the rivers and brought the waters from them. And at first that helped, for the grasses was still somewhat green. But soon too the grasses came yellow and dry, and the rivers dried up. And so the villagers started to pray to the rain, and although rain started to come on the barren land, nothing grew, for no seeds were left. And so the villagers held council, and it was decided that a young man, the strongest of them all, would go and find the seed bearer. There long has been a legend about a wise woman that holds all the seeds in her medicine pouch, and everything that she puts into earth grows, and grows aplenty. The young man gathered the little food that was left and moved south. And as he walked, he noticed that many lands, not just his, were barren, thirsty for water, with dead carcasses of trees and dry grasses and plants. There was no food to be found anywhere. There were no seeds to be gathered. And as he moved further and further afield, less water was there available too. His feet blistered, delirious from the scorching sun. He kept moving. All he could think of were his villages and his beloved land. And soon he suddenly noticed a little green opening, a woodland that looked alive. He could hear the bird song and the rustling leaves in the wind. He could see green color. He gathered all the force he had left in him and pushed his body forward. This must be the place of the seed bearer, for life is here. And as he entered the woodland, he spotted a young woman. She sat calmly in the middle of the tall grasses, swaying in the wind and singing a gentle song. She heard him come in, so she stopped the song and turned towards him and showed him to sit down by her side. He followed. Without speaking, she looked at his feet, and after rustling in her pouch, she pulled out a jar of green balm and applied it to his blistered feet. There was a small well in front of her. She gathered water in a clay vessel and gave it to him to drink. She then gathered more and poured it over his head, brushing his hair and inviting him to lay down in the tall grass and rest. And and when the young man awoke, he noticed that she stood there by his side, ready to go. "I know you came here for me," she said, "and I must tell you, just as I tell the others, I have no seeds to give, but I will come with you." He was too tired to answer, and so full of hope that he didn't want to ask more questions. He could feel she was the one he needed, so he stood up and they started to walk towards his village. With her song and joyful nature, they reached the village in no time. And as she arrived, all the villagers gathered around them. "Seed bearer, seed bearer," she heard from all the directions. With eyes of the villagers shining with hope, last hope in some of them. She could see the land was dry with cracks in it. There was not a single leaf on any of the trees or bushes. There was no food in the village, and there was barely any water left. She opened her bag and shared oats that she had with her. "Here, I don't have much, but you're welcome to all of it," she said, "for I see that the need is greater in you than in me." Seed bearer," she heard reflected back at her. She sighed and walked towards one of the trees. There was a beautiful rock by its side, and she sat on it. She opened her medicine bag and brought all that she had in there out. A couple of clay pots filled with the well water, a drum, and a red silk scarf. She gave one jar of the water to the villagers and poured another one down into the dry cracks of the earth. She picked up her drum and tied the red silk scarf on the tree. She kissed it gently, and softly she started to sing. And days and night have passed, and she has not stopped. And at first villagers kept coming expecting a miracle, expecting that she will get the seeds out and plant them on the earth and they will be fed. But soon a season has passed and another, and as the girl sang, no seeds were noticed around her. Nobody's seen her go in planting anything. She has barely moved, just sitting by the tree, softly drumming and singing, with a red silk scarf dancing in the wind above her. Disappointed, the villagers stopped coming. They were angry at the girl. She was their last hope, and here she sat singing songs and doing nothing, with no seeds. She is not a seed bearer, many have said. That was a lie, it is a lie, and we are all doomed. And surely many have perished, for the food became even more scarce. But the girl just kept sitting and singing and drumming. Occasionally she would jump up in ecstasy and dance, with her feet bleeding and blistering from the dry land underneath her, and yet that would not stop her. Sometimes she would sit and weep for days, and sometimes she would sit motionless, just a gentle, whispering song that will give away that she was still indeed alive. And over time, the villagers stopped coming. they accepted their fate. All of them, but a young boy, a son of a young man who went to find her in the first place. For all that time, he kept lurking from far, mesmerized by the dance of the red silk scarf and by the unbreakable statue of a young woman who sat with a drum and sang no matter what. At first he was watching her, for he thought that she had some seeds hidden somewhere. But soon he realized that indeed her medicine pouch was empty. All she had was out. Something kept bringing him back. Perhaps it was because there was nothing else to do, or perhaps something else. None of it matters now. Tired and hungry, he kept coming and witnessing her, and every day as he came a little bit closer, and soon he was so close to her that she noticed him. She stopped her song for the first time, turned towards him and waved her hand, showing him to come closer to her. Shy at first, he picked up his tired body and moved slowly. He put himself next to her side and sighted. She looked into his eyes and smiled. "Here," she said, and gave him a drum. "This is for you." The boy picked it up and started to drum. And as he started to play the drum, the rhythm had changed. And taken by the music, the boy found such strength in him that he jumped into the air, lifting the drum. And her song, hauntingly beautiful, weaving its way in between the beats, softly reached the ears of other children. And over the coming days and weeks, one by one, all of those that could walk and move and hear found their way to the two. And soon a circle was formed under the dry tree. And as the boy drummed, the young woman taught the song to the others. And soon all of them were singing and moving and dancing and drumming. And over days and nights, the song became louder, the drumming became stronger, so much so that even adults and elders have heard it. And they too have found their way, slowly but surely, to the circle, and rested their tired and hungry bodies. They witnessed the young ones sing and dance, and smiles and laughter appeared, and soon deep love and gratitude for that moment. If there is a way to go, let it be this one many have prayed for. But that was not the moment to go, for as the song came, as the drumming became louder, the rain have heard them and came towards the land. The birds have heard the song and flew in, and with them came the insects and other smaller creatures with seeds on their paws, and grasses were planted in the top soil moistened by rain. And as grasses grew, bigger animals found their way, bringing bigger seeds, nuts, and acorns with them. And soon a new forest grew, and the old tree came to give a new green leaf right by the red silk scarf, gently swaying in the soft wind.